Welcome to Andy Reads the Bible, where we're reading through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation in 1 year. I'm your host, Andy Brassfield. Today is January the 10th, and I'll be reading Genesis 30 and 31 from the Message translation. Genesis chapter 30. When Rachel realized that she wasn't having any children for Jacob, she became jealous of her sister. She told Jacob, "Give me sons or I'll die." Jacob got angry with Rachel and said, "Am I God? Am I the one who refused you babies?" Rachel said, "Here's my maid, Bilhah. Sleep with her. Let her substitute for me, so I can have a child through her and build a family." So she gave him her maid Bilhah for a wife, and Jacob slept with her. Bilhah became pregnant and gave Jacob a son. Rachel said, "God took my side and vindicated me. He listened to me and gave me a son." She named him Dan, vindication. Rachel's maid Bilhah became pregnant again and gave Jacob a second son. Rachel said, "I've been in an all-out fight with my sister, and I've won." So she named him Naphtali, fight. That's probably pronounced Naphtali. When Leah saw that she wasn't having any more children, she gave her maid Zilpah to Jacob for a wife. Zilpah had a son for Jacob. Leah said, "How fortunate," and she named him Gad, lucky. When Leah's maid Zilpah had a second son for Jacob, Leah said, "A happy day, the women will congratulate me in my happiness." So she named him Asher, happy. One day during the wheat harvest, Reuben found some mandrakes in the field and brought them home to his mother Leah. Rachel asked Leah, "Could I please have some of your son's mandrakes?" Leah said, "Wasn't it enough that you got my husband away from me, and now you also want my son's mandrakes?" Rachel said, "All right. I'll let him sleep with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes." When Jacob came home that evening from the fields, Leah was there to meet him. "Sleep with me tonight. I've bartered my son's mandrakes for a night with you." So he slept with her that night. God listened to Leah. She became pregnant and gave Jacob a fifth son. She said, "God rewarded me for giving my maid to my husband." She named him Issachar, bartered. Leah became pregnant yet again and gave Jacob a sixth son, saying, "God has given me a great gift. This time my husband will honor me with gifts. I've given him 6 sons." She named him Zebulun, honor. Last of all, she had a daughter and named her Dinah. And then God remembered Rachel. God listened to her and opened her womb. She became pregnant and had a son. She said, "God has taken away my humiliation." She named him Joseph, add, praying, "May God add yet another son to me." After Rachel had Joseph, Jacob spoke to Laban, "Let me go back home. Give me my wives and children for whom I've served you. You know how hard I've worked for you." Laban said, "If you please, I have learned through divine inquiry that God has blessed me because of you." He went on, "So name your wages, I'll pay you." Jacob replied, "You know well what my work has meant to you and how your livestock has flourished under my care. The little you had when I arrived has increased greatly. Everything I did resulted in blessings for you. Isn't it about time that I do something for my own family? So what should I pay you?" Jacob said, "You don't have to pay me a thing. But how about this? I will go back to the pasture and care for your flocks. Go through your entire flock today and take out every speckled or spotted sheep, every dark-colored lamb, every spotted or speckled goat. They will be my wages. That way you can check on my honesty when you assess my wages." If you find any goat that's not speckled or spotted, or a sheep that's not black, you will know that I stole it." "Fair enough," said Laban. "It's a deal." But that very day Laban removed all the mottled and spotted billy goats and all the speckled and spotted nanny goats and every animal that he had even a touch of white on it, plus all the black sheep, and placed them under the care of his sons. Then he put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob. Meanwhile, Jacob went on tending what was left of Laban's flock. But Jacob got fresh branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees, and peeled the bark, leaving white stripes on them. He stuck the peeled branches in front of the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink. When the flocks were in the heat, they came to drink and mated in front of the streaked branches. Then they gave birth to young that were streaked or spotted or speckled. Jacob placed the ewes before the dark-colored animals of Laban. That way he got distinctive flocks for himself, which he didn't mix with Laban's flocks. And when the sturdier animals were mating, Jacob placed branches at the troughs in view of the animals so that they mated in front of the branches. But he wouldn't set up the branches before the feebler animals. That way the feeble animals went to Laban and the sturdy ones to Jacob. The man got richer and richer, acquiring huge flocks, lots and lots of servants, not to mention camels and donkeys. Chapter 31. Jacob learned that Laban's sons were talking behind his back. "Jacob has used our father's wealth to make himself rich at our father's expense." At the same time, Jacob noticed that Laban had changed toward him. He wasn't treating him the same. That's when God said to Jacob, "Go back to where you were born. I'll go with you." So Jacob sent word for Rachel and Leah to meet him out in the field where his flocks were. He said, "I notice that your father has changed toward me. He doesn't treat me the same as before. But the God of my father hasn't changed. He's still with me. You know how hard I've worked for your father. Still, your father has cheated me over and over, changing my wages time and again. But God never let him really hurt me. If he said your wages will consist of speckled animals, the whole flock would start having speckled lambs and kids. If he said from now on your wages will be streaked animals, the whole flock would have streaked ones. Over and over, God used your father's livestock to reward me. Once, while the flocks were mating, I had a dream and saw the billy goats, all of them streaked, speckled, and mottled, mounting their mates. In the dream, an angel of God called out to me. I said, yes. He said, watch closely. Notice that all the goats in the flock that are mating are streaked, speckled, and mottled. I know what Laban's been doing to you. I'm the God of Bethel, where you consecrated a pillar and made a vow to me. Now be on your way and get out of this place. Go home to your birthplace." Rachel and Leah said, "Has he treated us any better? Aren't we treated worse than outsiders? All he wanted was the money he got from selling us, and he spent all that. Any wealth that God has seen fit to return to us from our Father is justly ours and our children's. Go ahead, do what God told you." Jacob did. He put his children and wives on camels and gathered all the livestock and everything he had gotten, everything acquired in Paddan Aram, to go back home to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. Laban was off shearing sheep. Rachel stole her father's household gods. And Jacob had concealed his plans so well that Laban the Aramean had no idea what was going on. He was totally in the dark. Jacob got away with everything he had and was soon across the Euphrates headed for the hill country of Gilead. 3 days later, Laban got the news. Jacob's run off. Laban rounded up his relatives and chased after him. 7 days later, they caught up with him in the hill country of Gilead. That night, God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream and said, "Be careful what you do to Jacob, whether good or bad." When Laban reached him, Jacob's tents were pitched in the Gilead mountains. Laban pitched his tents there too. "What do you mean?" said Laban. "By keeping me in the dark and sneaking off, hauling my daughters off like prisoners of war. Why did you run off like a thief in the night? Why didn't you tell me?" "Why, I would have sent you off with a great celebration. Music, timbrels, flutes. But you wouldn't permit me so much as a kiss for my daughters and grandchildren. It was a stupid thing for you to do. If I had a mind to, I could destroy you right now, but the God of your father spoke to me last night. Be careful what you do to Jacob, whether good or bad. I understand. You left because you were homesick, but why did you steal my household gods?" Jacob answered Laban, "I was afraid. I thought you would take your daughters away from me by brute force. But as far as your gods are concerned, if you find that anybody here has them, that person dies. With all of us watching, look around. If you find anything here that belongs to you, take it." Jacob didn't know that Rachel had stolen the gods. Laban went through Jacob's tent, Leah's tent, and the tents of the 2 maids, but didn't find them. He went from Leah's tent to Rachel's, but Rachel had taken the household gods and put them inside a camel cushion and was sitting on them. When Laban had gone through the tent, searching high and low without finding a thing, Rachel said to her father, "Don't think I'm being disrespectful, my master, that I can't stand before you, but I'm having my period." So even though he turned the place upside down in his search, he didn't find the household gods. Now it was Jacob's turn to get angry. He lit into Laban. "So what's my crime? What have I done to you that you badger me like this? You've ransacked the place. Have you turned up a single thing that's yours? Let's see it. Display the evidence. Our 2 families can be the jury and decide between us. In the 20 years I've worked for you, ewes and she-goats never miscarried. I never feasted on the rams from your flock. I never brought you a torn carcass killed by wild animals, but that I paid for it out of my own pocket. Actually, you made me pay whether it was my fault or not. I was out in all kinds of weather, from torrid heat to freezing cold, putting in many a sleepless night. For 20 years I've done this. I've slaved away 14 years for your 2 daughters and another 6 years for your flock, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not stuck with me, you would have sent me off penniless. But God saw the fix I was in and how hard I had worked, and last night rendered his verdict." Laban defended himself. "The daughters are my daughters, the children are my children, the flock is my flock. Everything you see is mine. But what can I do about my daughters, or for the children they've had? So let's settle things between us, make a covenant. God will be the witness between us." Jacob took a stone and set it upright as a pillar. Jacob called his family around. "Get stones." They gathered stones and heaped them up, and then ate there beside the pile of stones. Laban named it in Aramaic, Witness Monument. Jacob echoed the naming in Hebrew, Galeed, Witness Monument. Laban said, "This monument of stones will be a witness beginning now between you and me. That is why it is called Galeed, Witness Monument. It is also called Mizpah, Watchtower, because Laban said, 'God keep watch between you and me when we are out of each other's sight. If you mistreat my daughters or take other wives when there's no one around to see you, God will see you and stand witness between us.'" Laban continued to Jacob, "This monument of stones and this stone pillar that I have set up as a witness that I won't cross this line to hurt you, and you won't cross this line to hurt me. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their ancestor, will keep things straight between us. Jacob promised, swearing by the fear, the God of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and worshipped, calling in all his family members to the meal. They ate and slept that night on the mountain. Laban got up early the next morning, kissed his grandchildren and his daughters, blessed them, then set off for home. That concludes today's reading. It stood out to me back in chapter 30 that they bargained between Rachel and Leah with the affection of their husband Jacob. That just seems odd. I thought it was really cool how Jacob set the striped branches, or streaked, in front of the flock, and he got the striped and spotted animals as a result. So, sometimes God might say to do something, and that something may seem weird or odd, but it's not illegal or immoral or untrue. And I sure hope that I'm able to listen and obey. I think that's a great example that he set there for us. Today's episode is sponsored by Sugarwood Handyman, where we get your honey-do list done. Small jobs, odd jobs, home repairs, and more. To learn more about how Sugarwood Handyman can help you check off your honey-do list, visit facebook.com/sugarwoodhandyman. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app on Apple or Android. Search for Andy Reads the Bible. Our podcast page is located at www.andybible.libsyn.com. Libsyn is spelled Libsyn. Again, the web address is andybible.libsyn.com. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll see you tomorrow.